Welcome back to another edition of Sound the Sirens. I'm your host, Thomas Orness, and today we're going to discuss Cyhawk victory, Chris Jones greatness, TJ, TJ and Campbell extended until 2032. We got some good portal gets for the receivers, which that was very satisfying to get it over with already. Because Townsend, I was Xavier Townsend. I was really excited for him to be an Iowa State Cyclone the first time around. And every time I'd watch UCF, and I would just always get sad because he was always pretty damn good.
He's the guy that's got a connection with Rocco too,
Yeah,
right?
they played football together in high school, and it'd be nice to see them play next year. And I think he'd be a great Jalen Noel replacement if that's even possible, because Jalen was a great Cyclone. Obviously, we have
Yeah.
one more game left, but man, he was a great Cyclone for 4 years, and
Yeah.
he's probably be a very unique player in the next 10 years, because I feel like players staying for 4 years is going to be pretty rare. And having him back or having him for one more game for the bowl game, hopefully we can have a good showing against Miami.
Yeah, we don't know what the future holds. I mean, as far as portals with the financial change with starting April 1st, the money comes from the school or whatever. I mean, that's why there's a lot of money being floated around out there. But yeah, I don't know if you're going to replace Jalen Noel. There's going to be a new person that will make their own identity, but Jalen Noel is a uh, once in a lifetime Cyclone just because he stuck it out. He could have easily probably gone somewhere else. He probably could have gone to Kansas or somewhere like that because he's from the Kansas City area. But really happy that he's a Cyclone through and through, and he's playing in the bowl game. Could have opted out of that too. So could have Higgins, but they're both playing. So and I looked it up this morning that it doesn't look like anybody from Miami's opting out either. So Ward's still playing, which there's rumors that he wasn't going to play, and he is going to play. So it should be a good one. It should be a hopefully very highly watched game too. I mean, it gets a lot. They do a really good job of promoting that thing with the toaster thing and the trophy and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, especially in this era where players have 10 million reasons not to play, and
Right.
it seems like they're going to play, and hopefully it'll be a good. Obviously, it's just a TV product at this point, and hopefully, if we can get our 11th win,
Oh,
that is just
against
massive.
Miami. I mean, it's a storied program. They've been discussed all year. They're in the hunt for the playoffs as we were. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, if we can hopefully they'll sell it like it's a big game and it'll be fun. It'll be fun because it's in Miami or it's in Florida. It's a well-known team that's not very far away. Who knows how many Miami fans will show up? And I really don't know how many Iowa State fans will show up either, to be honest with you. I mean, at some point the money train has got to end when you're going to Ireland, you're going to Kansas City, you're going to Dallas, all of these places. And we don't have, you know, the Alabama fan base or whatever that's millions and millions of people. So there's a lot of the same people that are going to all these events.
Let alone paying for all our players to stay.
Right.
Because
That was an interesting stat that I heard Bloom throw out this week, that there's a really high percentage of people that give to the We Will that do not have never given a penny to Iowa State. That's really interesting.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, so it's a different group that they've tapped into. Me being one of them. I mean, I've given money to Iowa State before, off and on when we can afford it, but I'm giving over $2,000 a year right now to the We Will thing because I just put it in my budget and I said I'm going to do a monthly deduction out of my checking account, and I don't even think about it anymore. And it's going to a product that is something that has given our family a lot of entertainment. So I think it's a cheap investment, in my opinion.
But you've also paid tuition for your kids,
right? Yeah, I've said this to many parents. I said you become a little bit bigger fan when you start writing checks to the school.
Didn't Grandpa have a question about that? How he spent so much money, gave so much money to Iowa State that he should have gotten an honorary degree because he sent you and Jane and
my brother and sister, all three of us went to Iowa State, but tuition was a little different back then.
Right.
Back in the day. Just had the discussion when I went to the Cyhawk game. I went with two other Iowa State alum. Shout out to Gus and Wooters. I mean, we were talking about tuition when we were freshmen and sophomores in college, and it's just I think the tuition when I was a freshman was like $700. I mean, it's just insane where it's gone.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
you could work on a job off of when you're not in school and pay for the next.
Well, that was just
semester.
tuition. That wasn't room and board. I mean, room and board was still but it was a different animal. But because Wooters talk about, he found a canceled check in his parents' house for a pizza. He lived in Friley, which is right across the street in Lincoln Way from Campustown, and he had a canceled check for a pizza for $5.
Wow.
Which that's just every generation goes through that. But we're just watching one of our favorite Christmas movies, Scrooged, last night. And there's a scene where Bill Murray's getting out of a cab, and the cab ride was $4.75. But this movie came out in 1988, 89.
Yeah,
Like
with that new remake, it's gonna be an Uber or something.
Oh, right, yeah, and it's going to be $50.
Yep. Yeah, going back to Cyclones. Yeah, this bowl game. The only reason why I'm getting excited about it is because the players are playing. I want the 11th win because that 11th win is huge for just the record books for our seniors. Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel can go out with a win. I think that's huge. And going into next season, coming off a win on national TV, looking good. And Rocco, please don't throw the pick six. so sick of the pick sixes. Hopefully Ben Bramer can play. Like maybe you could see Caleb Bacon. I haven't heard anything, but maybe
I've heard there's a chance that Caleb is playing and Herbrzina is playing.
So just to see them out there running around with, just have an opportunity to be on this team with this great season and getting over the hump with 10 wins, and we can get that Pop Tart trophy to Ames, Iowa. That'd be awesome. And
so did you see Mauser talking about the flavor of Pop Tarts?
No.
He was going on. He went on this rant at a press conference about his favorite flavor of Pop Tart, and he went on the hot fudge thing. And he spent like 4 minutes talking about Pop Tart flavors. I thought it was so funny. But if you go back and listen to our podcast before the Kansas State game, when I interviewed Jacob Heyer, who works for Kansas State, he's a Humboldt High School alum. And Kansas State went to Pop Tart Bowl last year, and he said it was phenomenal. He said it was a great experience. Got to hang out by the pool. You know, the Pop Tart guys treated him well. They gave him a customized Pop Tart box, for each player. And so yeah, it's a good bowl. I mean, and it was one of the highest rated bowls last year as far as ratings go. So we'll see after tonight's the first college football playoff game. We'll see what the ratings are like for bowl games. But this is a good matchup. I mean, two teams that had really good years, and it would getting
just
that
missed the playoff. They both just missed the playoff.
So yeah, I mean, we're probably, what are we? I don't know how our season changes if we get that Texas Tech win. I mean,
probably in the same bowl game.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's really no I don't think there's really a hierarchy in bowl games anymore. It's like, okay, you're either in the playoff or in a bowl game. Yeah. There's no like, oh, this bowl game's extra special.
Yeah. Well, you think, I mean, you go back to that Arizona State game, on paper, it looks like we just got completely blown out, but those turnovers were killer. Yep. I mean, you go back and replay that game, we don't get beat by that again. I mean, if we just don't turn it over. I mean, and it's just, but that's just the way that's football. That's sports in general. I mean, how many times have you seen in a basketball season where a team gets beat by 15 the first go around, then they win the next matchup? I mean, that's kind of the way I look at the Arizona State game. And I'm a huge Arizona State fan now. I mean, I want them to get all the way to the title game, because that would be do nothing but help the Big 12 in general, getting ready for the playoff rankings next year.
Yeah, I'm just cheering for them not to get embarrassed, because if they get embarrassed, that will be a hard thing to come back from, because these every time we get in the playoff, we have to compete and have a chance to win. Every time, because every time if there's like 3 years in a row we get a team in the playoff and we lose by 40 plus, we might see a decade where we don't even get in at all.
Well, I mean,
because they might change the rules.
I want Indiana to house Notre Dame tonight, because Notre Dame, is just Notre Dame.
They had 3 true road games their whole year. All the rest of them were neutral site game where they could just have their fans go, and Navy, and then just have it.
And then they got beat by a bad Northern Illinois team.
Because if that was any other school, they would be out.
Yeah,
no questions asked, because you lost a team in your home stadium and lost. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's better for college football if Notre Dame's good though.
Why?
Just because the name brands are better when the football's better when the name brands.
They don't have a conference. Get them in a damn conference.
No,
why?
They don't need to be a conference.
Yeah, they do if they want to be. We need a level playing field.
No,
they need to be in a conference.
No, not going to happen.
Well, I don't care if it's going to happen. They need to be in a conference.
They're basically already in the ACC. What's the difference between okay, you go into
how are they basically in the ACC?
They have to play a certain amount of ACC games every year.
So how many they play this year?
They're in a conference in every sport but football.
Right. So get them in a conference for football.
But if you play in the Big Ten, it's like a 20-team league. It's just you're in a conference, but you're playing. So if you have a schedule like Indiana, we play the bottom half of the Big 12 or Big 10, and you just
except Ohio State
or Iowa for the last decade.
Yeah. Well, that's a podcast by itself.
So I'm saying they're in a conference, but let's just say Iowa's independent, and they played USC every year. They played, but I don't know. I think Notre Dame was smart to not get in a conference ever because now
the only reason they're not in a conference is because of money. Because they get this, they've always gotten this big check from NBC.
Yeah, I
mean that's the reason.
They have their own network,
right?
If we were in the same situation, we would not want to be in a conference either.
Yeah, but so that's the same thing we're bitching about with Texas.
Yeah,
I mean Texas was kind of the Big 12 version of Notre Dame, but now they're in the SEC. I mean, why can't Notre Dame be in a conference?
Because they went through their whole history without having been in a conference. They have their own network, and that has given up tonight will be the first time since 1990 that an ESPN or a non-NBC will be airing a home game for Notre Dame. So I don't know.
Yeah, their schedule is not good either. I mean,
and now that they're not in the conference, they can set their schedule, and all they have to do is be in the top 10, and they're automatically in the playoff.
I know that. That's why I say get them in a damn conference. Make them play a conference championship game.
They have no one. If they were completely left out, then they could.
Right.
But now,
so why doesn't Alabama do that? Why doesn't Alabama pull out of the SEC and just go independent too?
Because they're going to be making $65 million.
You don't think Alabama could get a contract? The contract before this year, you don't think Alabama could have got a contract like Notre Dame?
You think how many times do you think Texas probably thought that during the Big 12 crisis back in 2010 or whatever? They could have said we're going to be independent and be like Notre Dame, but they didn't. They stayed in a conference, and we have Texas to thank for that. Otherwise, Iowa State would be in the Mountain West.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagree with that,
but yeah. Anyways,
yeah, I think them not being in a conference and what you just said about their requirements to be in the playoff is not a level playing field. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. But it's not about the actual games anymore. It's about the brands. It's about
right.
Who the media.
No, it's all money. It's all media. It's all about eyes on the TVs. I get that.
It's all just.
That's why Rutgers is in the Big Ten for crying out loud. It was about eyes on TVs.
And Stanford's in the ACC.
Right.
But they
exactly.
could throw a rock and hit the ocean, and they're in the ACC.
Right. They're in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
But they're,
and they can hang out on the beach after practice on the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, makes sense. We live in a completely upside down world.
Yeah, this is not the Notre Dame podcast, but
we have some family.
Yeah, we have a lot of family.
huge Notre Dame fans.
I'm sure they've shut this off or are going to be texting us when this comes out.
Yeah, none of them are listening to this.
Yeah, I guarantee you that one.
But anyways, back to Iowa State, which I just think you probably see Notre Dame as all the privilege in the world, and we're Iowa State. We get nothing. We have to scrape and drag our knees just to even get a shout out.
Right.
And yeah, I see how you feel all that because I don't know. I kind of grew up a Notre Dame fan, secondary.
Sure.
But
first Christmas present I gave your mother was a Notre Dame hoodie.
Yeah.
Because her whole family's Notre Dame fans, so not anymore. But
yeah. Anyways, back to Iowa State. We are living the best time to be an Iowa State fan.
Yeah, there is no doubt about that. I mean, that cannot. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that cannot be understated.
We say that every podcast, but
it's the way it is.
It's the truth.
Our basketball team is freaking fantastic.
The best probably ever.
We're going for 11 wins.
Yep.
Women are struggling a little bit right now, but they've had a hard non-conference schedule.
Yes.
So yeah, just take a breath and think back to the times where we had like one win in football, or we won no Big 12 games under Prom in basketball. Wasn't that long ago.
There was zero hope. There was no hope. We were thinking that there was a time people thought we should extend Prom so we can recruit in the future, just so that we can.
Didn't Cyclone Larry say that on Twitter?
Or we need to extend. I'd rather extend Prom
than higher odds.
I think that was Lou Courier, and then Cyclone Larry might have said that too. But just looking back on that, wow,
Yeah.
Jamie really. Glad he made the decision to get rid of Prom, pay him $20 million or whatever to go home and sit down. And
thank God, 'cause that was the birth of Sound of the Sirens.
it was. We had to.
Was Prom getting fired?
But yeah, having Tame Lipsy, who doesn't really have to do that much, who's a Tinsley light on defense. He the Iowa game, I was at halftime where I'm like texting you guys, I'm like, Lipsy should never shoot the ball in the second half. Comes out,
and then he made you look stupid.
Immediately makes 3 threes in a row.
But I tell you what, I was at Carver Hawkeye. We're going to talk about that a lot. Are we done talking about football?
Yep.
We're going to go to basketball. All right. So, I've rewatched that game 3 times now, and you watch Taman play in that game. He is playing like this is a rivalry game.
Yep.
He is chasing down every loose ball. He made the Hawks look stupid on some of the rebounds that he got, and I know the Hawk fans are whining about that supposed over and back where we ended up hitting a 3 because he saved it and he turned his. I thought he was done. By the way, I thought he broke his foot. I was having George Niang like flashbacks when he went down because I was sitting there watching him on the floor. But yeah, Taman played that game like it was a rivalry game, and I'd like to do a shout out to the 2 clowns at Carver Hawkeye that were sitting on courtside in white hoodies.
Yep.
That stood up and were waving to the crowd and talking crap to our kids. You really motivated our kids. I think you really helped us win that game because you were such morons yelling at our players that Curtis makes a 3 and turns around and has this big smile on his face. And Taman kept looking at him too. That I think those guys really kind of turned it up a notch in the second half because of those clowns in the front row. And Son Williams and Bloom were talking about we have rules in Hilton that if you're sitting courtside, you can't do that. And if you go back and watch the game, there's this guy that's waving to the crowd and, he's pointing to the refs and they're doing it. He's, jumping up and slapping his knee because he thought the ball went off of our knee one time and all this kind of stuff. Right. And so they obviously thought they were on display. But you can't do that in Hilton. I think they've really cracked down after our whole, Bill Self incident with the UPS guy. But, so yeah, I think those guys deserve a shout out because I think they really helped motivate us to get that win. And it was I couldn't believe it, but there was one point in the game where we're on defense and Carver Hawkeye has got this defense chant really loud. And I looked at a friend of mine that was with me and I said, we're on the road in Carver Hawkeye and it's defense. Our fans are out cheering the Hawk fans. So, yeah, it was
like as a Hawk, just what I probably think the Hawks fan probably look at. Whenever things are going good, they start cheering. But if one thing goes bad, it's like, oh yeah, we hate Fran, we want him gone. Like I was almost at that point with Prom. Like every time we lost, I wasn't even upset. We're like, we need to get him out of here. He needs to go. There's no way path of success. We should have hired TJ to begin with. You need to get out of there. $20 million to go sit on your ass in Missouri State and get your ass kicked. Goodbye. You gave us Tyrese Halliburton. That's it. Like literally, we can't go back on the Prom.
No, let's not go to the Prom. But you're talking about the Hawk fans.
Yes.
When we took control, you would have swore that somebody just dropped a nuclear bomb in the student section because that sucker emptied extremely fast.
Yeah.
And the only people left in that stadium when it was all over in the student section were a few Iowa State fans. That's it.
Yeah, it's great to see. Like Iowa played so good. They made everything.
They did.
They were great on defense. Our team is just better players. We have a better coaching staff and
play harder.
Lipsy,
we played so much harder than they did. It's not even funny.
Like right out of the second half.
Not even close.
Right out of the second half, we took it back. And Curtis Jones coming in, hitting those monster 3-pointers. Like, my gosh. Like, have we...
Little Jake Sullivan in him. I hate to say it.
He's the best... All right, I'll just say it. He's the best player to ever come off the bench at Iowa State. And ever in history. There's no one better than Curtis Jones.
Tyrese might have something to say about
the last 2 years. Tyrese he's top 5 or whatever.
Yeah,
but
Tyrese was...
He was great too, but Curtis Jones can defend. He's 6'4".
I go back
He's
to
a
the
point
Kansas
guard.
game with Tyrus McGee, though. I mean, he was.
Yeah, but we lost
that
that
was
game.
the Blarge game.
We lost that game. But we probably could think of completely differently if we win that Ohio State win. And
Yeah, it's
that
true.
Kansas win at home. Because we're undefeated in Hilton that year. If we win that Kansas game, and if we beat Aaron Kraft, I think obviously Chris Babb going down would have hurt us, but we could have made the Sweet 16, Elite Eight. And because
Curtis Jones's plays was such a joy. I mean, he's got a little bit of Tyrese Halliburton in him because he always looks like he's happy when he's playing the game. I mean, he just looks like he's having fun, and he plays with so much confidence. And Bill Raftery on the broadcast was just going on and on and on about how good he is and how tough he is and everything. And man, he's hitting some big shots right now. And you're right. I mean, he's. Talk about him being a 6-man. Well, hell, he's on the 6-man. I mean, we're doing this because it's working.
I'm not him saying he's so great is not a slight to all the rest of the Cyclones who came out the bench. Like we had Naz Long coming out the bench.
Right.
We had Tyrus McGee. We've had Lindell Wigginton and Cam Lard would come in. But Curtis Jones, I've never been more confident in a guy coming off the bench and coming into the game and making it better. On defense, on offense, and the way Curtis Jones and Gilbert play together in Lipsy, it's just so fun to watch.
When you make the comparison to Tyrus, I remember when Tyrus was playing, I always looked forward to that first sub.
Yep. Because
you knew something good was going to happen. Curtis, the same thing.
Yep.
Can't wait for him to get in the game.
I've never seen him shoot a shot that I did not think it was going in.
Well, you did before Christmas last year. Last year, when he was trying to get adjusted, we were really worried about because he came in as a shooter. And he was really struggling to shoot before Christmas break last year, and then he caught fire, and the rest is history because he's been playing fantastic since.
But people don't even remember that.
No, I do.
But it didn't matter. We were still good.
Right.
It wasn't like he was missing and we were losing because of him.
Yeah.
But he would be starting on the every team in the college basketball. I think he starts. For anyone else,
no doubt.
But we have Taman Lipsy, who's a hometown kid, who's like the general of the team, has to start. And I'm not saying Curtis Jones should start. Like he's great.
There's no reason to screw with the rotation now. I mean,
and it was just awesome to see a comeback victory against the Hawks in Carver, where I've never watched a game live. And Iowa State was playing in Carver, and Iowa State win. The only time we ever beat Iowa State in Iowa and Carver, I was not watching. I had to because you were coaching or I was playing. So it was great to see, and it's just so nice to see Iowa fans just melt down. And
it was fun there. I mean, just a couple things. First of all, we had 4 team fouls in the first half, and I said to somebody at the time, I think that was a strategy because the night before, the girls got in big foul trouble in Carver, and I have no verification of this, but I think TJ told them we cannot get in foul trouble the first half. Because we have 14 fouls the first half. We come out, and we have 14 fouls like in the first 3 minutes of the second half. And there's a couple fouls. One was on Heisey, and one was on Curtis, where we obviously fouled them, and we started clapping like we'd done something good. I think that was excuse me. That was a sign that TJ has said, you need to come out and be more aggressive. And they didn't care about fouling because we had nobody in foul trouble. And that was a difference in the game because we really came out and were much more aggressive than they were in the second half. Sanford, couldn't miss for the first, 30 minutes of that game. And then the end of the game, he was kind of rushing it a little bit. And he, I don't know when he made his last 3. It was probably 10 minutes to go in the game. But Freeman, who acted like it was the NCAA championship, was just sucking air at the end. I mean, our conditioning was so much better than theirs was. I mean, and our kids, and I think the way that we're rotating Jefferson and Jackson and Chatfield, we're keeping those guys fresh all the time, and it really wore on those guys because they really had no answer for our inside guys.
And I think Jefferson's another guy where he's a player that I look at him like, how the hell is he at Iowa State? Like, there's so many players that TJ's gotten in his tenure where I'm like, how did we get him at
Iowa State? Like personal connection, though. He's from Vegas.
How they fall through the cracks and end up Iowa State. And it's just so great to see that happen over and over again. Like, Curtis Jones and Gilbert have like in this NIL world, has no business being at Iowa State.
Well, I mean, because Curtis is from Minnesota, played at Indian Hills before he went to Buffalo.
Yep.
So he's got an Iowa connection. Jefferson played high school ball in in Vegas. So TJ had a relationship with him there. So did Keyshawn. Keyshawn and Jefferson knew each other when they were in high school. And so Keyshawn went to TJ and said, I want Jefferson when we're going through the whole NIL deal last year. And so there's a lot of personal connection stuff that has happened. And the question is, is it sustainable? We have to be able to sustain those personal connections and all of these NIL things and all of that kind of stuff. And, and Jackson has the Washington State connection because of Jazz Coons. I mean, so, as long as we stay successful, we're always going to be able to foster those connections.
And Milan coming here, I mean, he could have gone anywhere in the country. Came to Iowa State. Even after last year, he knew that he probably could have gotten X amount of dollars to go to Kansas, Duke, anywhere where he wants. I can imagine just seeing his phone text messages or DMs
I'd
from
love to see it. That'd be so much fun to see.
Like, that shouldn't be against
Broncos, too.
I mean, if the tampering isn't, if they're breaking the rules, it shouldn't be against the rules where a player can expose these people trying to get, and try to get them in trouble. Because there needs to be some, obviously there's no accountability anywhere, in the NCAA anymore, because they have lost all their power. Because all the powers of the players, and I can't even imagine being a coach nowadays.
Well, if you watch, I kind of follow politics, and you watch one of the NCAA guys was testifying in front of the Senate yesterday or day before, and they were talking about the whole trans issue, and the guy would not take a stand. And one of the senators from Louisiana goes, why don't you go to Amazon and buy a spine and take a stand on something? He was basically trying to defer it to the senators, making them pass a law. And that just, we've talked about how the NCAA has totally lost all of their authority on anything. And that was a prime example of it, that they just don't want to take a stand on anything.
But they had 100 years to come up with a system. But they held there's white knuckled it the entire time until COVID happened, and then everything changed.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, it's weird though. And when that happened, my thinking is okay, Iowa State is done. They can't survive in this world. In my mind, the only reason why Kansas and Kentucky were getting these players before all this is because they were getting paid under the table.
Oh yeah.
Now that it was above the table, where they can just pay him X amount, the BYU guy got $7 million. So he hasn't even laced his shoes once in the BYU campus. And I just thought of, imagine if Michael Porter Jr. got that from Missouri. He subbed into Iowa State against Iowa State in the first game, got hurt 15 minutes in the game, and didn't play the rest of the year. Imagine how much money he would have gotten just to get to Missouri.
It's kind of like Brandon Ayuk, right? I mean, he was a big holdout for the 49ers this year. Didn't do anything.
That's NFL.
Yeah, but he still got paid.
But the NFL, they can't just leave. There's a contract. They can just.
That's why they get more money.
Now they can just get up and leave before even the season starts. I mean, I'm glad Townsend's coming to Iowa State, but he did bail on his team. 4 games in, he just transferred. Done.
So he won the portal 4 games into the season? No, I didn't know that. Okay.
Which I was kind of surprised that Campbell went after him, because I don't know. But obviously.
Wasn't he redshirted?
But you get 4 games.
Oh, yeah.
And then you redshirt, transfer.
Gotcha. Well, getting back to the Carver thing, the one thing that I took away from going to Carver is that there is absolutely no reason we don't sell beer in Hilton, because the fans were there earlier, and I think that's one of the reasons. It also keeps people, because you send people into the Johnny's. You can sit there in Hilton and watch people get up with 5 minutes to go in the half because they're going to Johnny's. That it just seemed like there was a bigger crowd right before the game started, and I didn't see any. It's the Iowa State game. If you're going to see idiots drinking too much at a game, that would be it. And I didn't see any of that. So I just walked away from it thinking, man, I just think they're selling a lot of concessions because of it, and it's not that big of a deal. There's a lot of people that are employed because of it. I don't know. I mean, I kind of totally changed my mind on just watching it. I've been to the Carver twice now watching it. Why are you shaking your head?
I just don't agree.
Why?
I just think it's unnecessary. It's supposed to be an amateur sports. Obviously, this is like the last thing left.
Wait a minute. We've been talking about NAL the whole time, and now you're calling it amateur sports?
But
when was the last time you heard him referred to as student athlete?
I'm saying, as a fan experience, when I bring my kid, I don't want beer. I don't want even a chance for my kid to be spilled beer on. Not once. Because
I see that.
All it takes is one bad experience, and one kid's like, nope, don't want to go to the game anymore.
Yeah.
And that's not worth it, because that kid could have grown up and gone to Iowa State and gone to school and done the same.
Well,
it's just not.
It's going to happen.
It's not necessary. You need more.
It's going to happen.
But I'm just saying, it's the way it is now.
We're one of the only places that it doesn't right now.
Do you think they sell beer at BYU?
At BYU, that's like saying they're selling it at Mass at Notre Dame tonight. I mean, that's a bad comparison.
It's a safe place.
Watch
for
any
kids to
game
go.
on ESPN and see every kid in the stands has got a beer in their hands. Almost every single game.
I don't think
they stopped selling it like with 10 minutes to go in the game, just like they do in the NFL or Major League Baseball.
I just don't think it's necessary. I don't think it adds anything to the fan experience. To drink out, you can go home and drink all the alcohol you want, but you're gonna go to the game just so you can drink a beer, a $13 beer.
So beer has been part of the sports experience for 100 years.
Professional teams.
Okay, so we're paying the players millions of dollars.
Then they don't have to go to school anymore.
Yeah, right, they're not student athletes right now. We're not. We've talked about this ad nauseum here before. We never talk about them being students anymore. We never see a kid that's academically ineligible anymore.
But that's very recent.
That ship has sailed. These are not amateur athletes anymore.
Okay, well then don't sell the facade about it's all about education and free education, and
they're not. But who talked about that lately?
But I'm saying that was until 2020. That was the selling point.
Right.
You go to college to get the free college, and the free everything else was extra. And like Jamie was like explained to him about how much money they spend extra on these athletes, and now they get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, and to sometimes not even play. They can transfer whenever they want.
Yeah.
And I think that's I think college sports is playing with fire right now, because there's going to be a lot of people that just don't give up and just go, well, I'm going to go watch the Vikings or the Packers, where I don't have to pay for them to come to my school.
Oh, I can see. Yeah. I mean,
like how many people are alums that I paid a shit ton of money and I'm still in student loan debt. Now you want me to pay monthly just to have a decent basketball team?
Oh, there's a lot of people saying that today.
I know, but I'm saying that 5 years of that and having no, like, you put your money in there and you see nothing in return, and you're a Hawk fan and you like they don't spend money in transfers or basketball.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's dangerous territory to play with, because people are not financially great right now that have extra spending money to go to get tickets, to get apparel, to everything that involves to even get to the stadium, to pay for parking, to pay for the being a fan is so expensive now.
Oh, sure it is.
Like, imagine if we wanted to go, if Iowa State was in the playoff, we won and we kept winning. And then basketball season came around, and we want to go to Kansas City. We want to go to the Final Four.
Yeah, that's why I didn't go to Kansas. I mean, I didn't. You were talking about going to Dallas to the Big 12 championship. I said, I'm not going, because if we win, I'm going to go to the playoff game. I mean, I had to make a decision. I can't go to both. Yeah. I would rather go to the playoff game.
And we don't have that big a fan base where we just have that much of extra people who just go just because it's Iowa State.
Right.
You have to have a personal connection. It's not just like Texas or like these Alabama, where they just have fans everywhere because they've been successful for
decades.
So, yeah. And they have all the media pushing their great games, and everything positive that happens of Texas, they just boost it up 10 million times.
Yeah.
But Iowa State has to do 4,000 times things to even get a slight recognition of anything. Like, man. Like Campbell, we don't even talk about the gambling stuff that we survived. That's how fast things go.
Yeah, Hunter Deckers was on ESPN the other night.
Like, that would have just completely
destroyed
any other program. Yeah. Like, coaches would have left. but Campbell and the staff really kind of came together, and we thank God for Rocco Beck
Yeah.
and for him to stay and not leave. And he could have left at any SEC school probably if he wanted to and played.
Yeah. Have you
And
seen if J.J. Cole's gotten any offers lately?
I have no
I
idea.
haven't seen either.
But anyways, it's a great time to be a Cyclone. It's just sometimes in my mind it just doesn't make sense how it's happening. Like that's why I love to like talk to Brent Bloom or like even like Ron Harkle. Like how are we doing this? Are we just getting lucky? Like is Rocco Beck just because his parents played in the NFL? Like they don't care about money? Like what is actually happening? Like how are we gonna keep Dom Orange?
Well, but I said this last a couple podcasts ago. I said, maybe we're kids are realizing that if they can stick around and get in the NFL, like Brock, like Brees, like Lazard, go down the list of all of the guys we have playing in the NFL right now. I don't care what kind of NIL money you're talking about. It's still not NFL money.
No.
You can get in the NFL for a short period of time. You're set for life. I mean, you get the pension, get everything that goes along with being an NFL player. I mean, so getting in the NFL, maybe kids are actually realizing that, it's a little delayed gratification. They're getting paid something. They're just not getting paid millions of dollars to play at Iowa State. I mean, Dom Orange has probably gotten offered millions of dollars to go somewhere else. However, he probably wants to be a draft pick.
Yeah,
And if he goes to it somewhere else, he might not play.
And it's just like the NFL is like it's like college of what you just said with TJ and how we got all these players. The NFL is kind of similar where they have college coaches who they trust and develop people, and that's who they draft. That's how Iowa, for weirdly enough, has really succeeded in the NFL. They had walk-ons. They had like Dallas Clark.
They become tight end. They call it tight end you right now. I mean,
George Kittle and like TJ Hawkinson, like
Laporta.
They build them from the ground up, and I think weirdly enough, like obviously we don't like the Hawks, but we're kind of doing the same formula.
Yeah, we have Brees Hall, we have David Montgomery that are two of the premier running backs in the NFL right now. I mean, came out of little old Iowa State.
And like Lazard was really loved by Aaron Rodgers, which really boosted up his career. And it's just I think we've had good luck and great coaching and great leadership. And I think when you mix all that together, not only the good things can happen.
And it all comes back to Jamie Pollard.
Yep. And people,
I mean, it really does.
And there's some people who hate him just based on the beer idea. No. That's it.
I mean, I'm not going to die on that hill.
But people want him gone just for that reason.
I thought, I was in the same boat you were a while back, but, there's still a lot of kids going to a lot of concerts and a lot of rodeos and a lot of country concerts and a lot of NFL games. Major League Baseball games, and they sell beer there, and they police it somehow. So.
I mean, probably honestly why I don't want it there is because I don't drink.
Right.
Because I don't care.
Yeah, you don't care. Right.
I mean, if you show me a dollar amount where, like, yeah, we would boost our NIL and we could actually make it work. But all that I've heard is it doesn't really make that much money.
No, but it sells more concessions, though.
And we'll need to boost up the security in Hilton and Jack Trice by a lot. We can't just have DMAC players who don't care or hungover from the night before doing security. We can't do it.
Sam Tverdick.
Yeah, we just can't happen. Like Chris Witzke's, like, it's just funny because like back in 2018 where we stormed the field against West Virginia, it's just funny because like the security is just softball and baseball players from DMAC who just don't want to be there.
Well, we saw it happen in Kansas State. They brought this rope out trying to keep the students away from Kansas State, and then they finally just gave up.
And now Hilton, like they even like sometimes like get old people out there just with a rope, and it's just like,
yeah, not gonna hold them back, but
yeah. But if you add alcohol, like when you get in the stadium, obviously if you don't, there's people who sneak in stuff, which
in the student section it's rampant. Let's be honest.
You can't really police that unless you make it TSA.
How many little Fireball bottles do you see walking out of a football game?
But like it gives you a chance to sober up.
Oh, that's very true.
If we don't have that, then how many people drive? Like we need a checkpoints at driving home.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
How many people are just sober up when they get to the game? There's 3 or 4 hours to sober up so they can drive. If there's no drivers, then we're gonna have trouble. That's something probably people don't really think about.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah,
and that's why
because not everybody lives in Ames. Not everybody lives in Des Moines. I mean,
yeah, majority of the people are driving there, so it's probably a public safety thing, and obviously it's probably it's going to happen the next 5 years, probably, right?
Yeah, I think it's pretty easily.
It's pretty inevitable, but I don't
I
know.
mean, we're funding the NIL with beer. I mean, let's be real. Ames Lager is really has helped out the NIL a lot. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of a little hypocritical that we're leaning in a beer company to help us pay our players, but then we won't sell it in the stadium.
But I'm just thinking about the kids,
I
people
agree.
with kids. It's just that's how we grow the future. If we
Yeah,
really,
I'm not disagreeing with you. No, I
but,
totally get it.
but yeah, I've heard the arguments. Like I'm not like 1,000% like this is. I can be convinced the other way, but just as a viewer and a citizen of the United States of America,
Boy,
I just
we're
want
gonna get political.
no, I just want everything's changed in the damn sport. This is the
Yeah.
only thing that hasn't changed. We'll hold on to this. I'm sure that's what Jamie probably thinks too.
Right? Yeah, it could be.
It's like I am not letting this happen. Like I'll even like he's like I'll probably change the logo before we get beer.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Well,
but-
he wants to. That's he obviously. I'm not going to question Jamie. I mean, Jamie knows what the hell he's doing. So I mean, and I don't. And I'm not mad about it that we don't sell it there. I mean, I really don't give two rips. But I just saw it at a work in progress at Carver, and I didn't see any problem with it. I mean,
but they're drinking their pain away because they have Fran as their coach.
that's true.
And they hate themselves because they're a fan that they hate someone.
One of
they want gone.
the funniest things that happened. I'm standing in line to go to the bathroom, and the men's bathroom line is right by the concession stand, and so the door is open to concession stand, and I'm standing in line. I'm 5 feet away from some guy putting hot dogs together. I said, "That's a little." I looked at the guy next to me and said, "That's a little gross."
Yeah.
I mean, he's literally could have been putting them together on top of a urinal. I mean, he was that close to the bathroom.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't want to add anything with Carver into Hilton ever because I think there's a pretty big difference between the two.
Mhm.
Obviously, if Carver didn't have Kalen Clark, I think it would be completely over.
I got to tell you two. I just got to tell two stories real quick. Number one, I'm sitting in the bar at the hotel after the game, and the Auburn quarterback is there. And we're trying to figure out who it was.
Who's committed to Iowa?
Who's committed to Iowa? Right, they committed to Iowa the next day, and now it sounds like they're going after Penn State's quarterback.
They transferred when they're still playing.
And so so then I get in the elevator, and buddy of mine looks at him and goes, "Man, you're a tall dude." And he goes, "You a basketball player?" He goes, "No, I'm a football player. I'm on my official visit." And he ends up being a player from Northwest Missouri State that plays with a kid from Humboldt that we know. And so I asked him if you know him. He goes, "Yeah, he's a really good friend of mine." And he's like, "I'm going to my Iowa State visit tomorrow." And I said, "Well, get the hell out of Iowa City and go to Iowa State." And so he's a D end. And so he was just laughing. And by the time I got back to my hotel room, I texted the kid from Humboldt, and he'd already been in a conversation with him about it. So anyway, he goes to Iowa State visit the next day, and he ended up committing to Missouri a couple days ago.
Oh, nice.
So he's from Missouri originally, and he's a DN that's going to play for Missouri. So I'm sure
Probably got paid some.
he probably got paid a little bit playing the SEC, but good for him. Nice kid. Super. Kitchens was Langdon Kitchens, I think was his last name. So
Yeah, it's a different world.
it was
and
fun.
It's just so nice that we got Townsend and I think is it Sowell or Sowell.
His dad is really active
Yeah,
on
he
social media.
he loves the Cyclones.
Yep, he does.
And yeah, he'll be great. I don't know. It's just fun to get that already over with.
Got
Before
a D-back too, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember. There's so many moving parts. It's hard to
Yeah.
even memorize these people's names, and it's more embarrassing when you get them wrong. So I'll just not try.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great time to be Cyclone. It's I love how like Campbell and imagine if we have Campbell and TJ until 2032. Like what could they do? To Iowa State athletics to
A lot.
because TJ has done everything positive, and if we can, I think this team. Obviously, we're early, but
Yeah, don't say it. Don't say it.
I don't know. But this team, like Pfizer and Tinsley's team, is like still on a pedestal in my mind.
They're gonna honor them with the Baylor game.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But I just think this team has all the parts, and I think Jefferson is just the extra piece that I'm like, he could take us to the promised land. Like we can. I don't think we need to win all the way. We have to win in Hilton. We need to win at Allen Fieldhouse, and in a weird way, like the Big 12 championship regular season title doesn't really hold much weight anymore, honestly. But it still does for our history. But just as
it's still one of the hardest things to do.
As a whole, it's just really not looked at as like that's why I think the 2000 team and 1999 team just hold so much weight is because of those two Big 12 championships.
Never lost in Hilton.
Never lost
Elite
in Hilton.
Eight.
And Tinsley and Pfizer being NBA players and
Yeah.
Scrappy, like Mike Nurse, like Wow.
Rancic played in that team. His kid plays for Colorado. I mean,
So I think this team has all the parts, and like Lipsy at the leadership, and having Gilbert, who's like a first team All American, like
yeah.
college player of the year type level player. Who we have so many players that they have a bad night. Like Milan didn't play that great against Iowa,
No,
and it didn't matter.
didn't play that much down the stretch either.
And he could be a reason why we get to the Final Four.
Keyshawn wasn't Keyshawn either. I mean, he was not.
No.
I mean,
But we still won. We still came charging back in Carver, where it's really hard to win at a rivalry game.
Yeah, we gave up too many points, and I don't think Iowa could have played any better the first, first 30 minutes of that game.
There's so many past Iowa State teams where they would just phoned it in. Like 5 minutes left in the first half. Like
effort and conditioning were the two big things. I mean,
and Iowa just didn't have the stamina or skill to keep up with us.
Fran looked disinterested towards the end.
Like Curtis Jones' long three.
Oh boy,
so nice, so satisfying.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's winning that Cyhawk game and having like a win streak against those guys it's nothing better, because take away the Garza years, like Fran would have been gone.
Oh.
And they extended him, and I don't know. Weirdly,
keep extending it, please.
Weirdly, I think this Iowa team could be the team that makes the Sweet 16.
Yeah, could.
Which that would be very strange.
You got to get in better shape. I know that.
But they have shooters, and yeah, it was nice for them to play their A game, and we still beat them. When we play our B- game, B+ game.
Yep.
And that's just something we are not used to in being an Iowa State fan, especially in the rivalry game. Because if we play not our A game, we just get absolutely killed.
Yeah, that would have been bad. To me, I would have been there twice for that.
And you were at the Caleb Girl game where we didn't score for like the first 7 minutes or whatever.
Brutal.
And
kind of like Drake and Kansas State the other night.
Yep. And imagine being a Kansas State fan and you pay a player $2.5 million and he's just really not playing.
And I saw Hawkins whining about stuff, and I said, you know what? People will probably treat you better if you're not a jerk. I mean, when he played for Illinois, I thought he was a jerk when we played him in Omaha, and he's doing the same stuff now. Now he wants people to feel sorry for him. So sorry,
if you're
not gonna happen.
If you're getting paid $2.5 million for 1 year,
he's not getting paid 2 point. I thought it was 1.5
or whatever.
Yeah,
millions of dollars to play basketball.
Yeah.
While everything else, all your expenses are gone. You're just getting paid $1 million or plus to come to Kansas State for 1 year and play good. And
Tang was going off on this thing. He was complaining about Fran Fraschillo's comment that he made about AJ Storr during the Kansas game. I mean, I was watching the game, and AJ Storr was struggling to make a shot, and Fran Fraschillo says he gets paid a lot of money to make that shot. And Tang thinks that's wrong that he said that.
How many times?
That's the truth.
How many times does a kicker miss a kick in the NFL?
Yeah.
Or it's like how much are we paying him?
Or a long snapper snaps it over the head, and you have one job. I mean, the Tang train is coming to an end. I'm afraid.
His stupid dance in the song has really kind of died down, and I don't know. Kansas State's always been a good program, no matter usually who's at the helm. Yeah. And I think
talk about good programs.
What if they fired him? Rehire Bob Huggins.
What about Drake?
No, rehire Bob Huggins at Kansas State. I think. I don't know. Bob Huggins is probably done, but
he should be done.
He should probably go the same staff as Rick Pitino.
He can be Belichick's assistant.
Right.
Get all the old guys.
That news probably, when I saw it, was probably one of the most shocking sports headlines I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. We'll see how it works out.
It makes no sense.
We'll see how it works out.
It shows you how different college sports are. Because 10 years ago, there's no way even Belichick would have laughed you out of the room to go to college.
Have you seen what he's getting paid?
No.
I haven't either.
I don't know.
Got to keep his young girlfriend happy somehow.
Right. Pay for her tuition. I think her girlfriend is 24 years old.
Yeah.
And
he's got hoodies that are older than that.
Yeah. God bless him.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe she can help recruiting. I don't know.
She probably can.
Probably social media. Yeah. For sure, Bill is probably clueless on that.
She's doing his Instagram post.
And like, if you're like going back to the Kansas State guy who was complaining about getting like hateful comments, just delete the apps.
Right. Don't get off of social media. Right.
You're getting paid millions of dollars to play basketball. You've dreamt about getting to this point. Just live in the moment. And why do you need the extra satisfaction from people that you don't even see.
Right.
And I think that's kind of wild how, I mean, that's what I would do if I was making that much money.
Yeah.
And playing college sports,
Mhm.
which all these kids grew up wanting to do. And now this is just extra. They're getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do the same thing that like Tyrus McGee, like Corey Lucius, Royce White. Oh gosh, imagine how much Royce White would have gotten if he
Oh,
would have
boy.
returned back for one more year.
Right.
He's like, I'm the portal. Wow, he would have gotten so much.
Yeah,
like,
he would have.
Seneca Wallace is next year, or Tinsley is coming back. He would have gotten blank checks. They could probably write to these guys, but I don't know. This year, if we can just get to the Final Four, I think that's the next thing. 10 wins in football, gone. Next big thing is Final Four. We need to get to the Final Four because that would be huge. Because just think about how much that Michigan State has lived on that one championship where we could have won.
Right.
If we just simply won that, I think the whole early 2000s are completely different. I think we don't fire Larry Stacey.
No.
There's no way we fire him. Even if he did that, we keep him.
Can you imagine the Larry Stacey thing with social media?
It wouldn't happen because he probably wouldn't have done it because back then he probably could get away stuff with that because they had like cameras like that, but it was on the
internet shortly afterwards.
It wasn't like
it was the next day I saw it, but then it kind of disappeared, and this is a different story. But well, heading into Christmas here.
Yep.
So, what's your favorite Christmas movie?
My favorite Christmas movie is Fred Claus.
Fred Claus? That's kind of bizarre.
It's a great movie.
What's your favorite Christmas cartoon?
It's about Santa's brother.
I know that. I've seen it before. What's your favorite Christmas cartoon?
I like Frosty.
Frosty.
It's a nice 20-minute film. Get out there and get going.
I was telling you, all of those claymation stuff came out when I was a little boy, and you guys can't relate to the fact that back in the day, you used to have to get the TV guide out and try to figure out when is it going to be on? When is Rudolph going to be on? And if you missed it, you were screwed. If the TV guide didn't come that week, you didn't know when Rudolph was going to be on. You couldn't record it. You had to wait till next year.
I'll give you something that'll shock you. I lived in the same way. Take away DVDs. If we didn't have the DVD or VHS, I was the same way.
Yeah, but I recorded them all for you. I mean, back then we didn't. The VHS hadn't been invented yet.
I'm just saying, if you didn't do that, if I was just a regular boy with a dad who didn't care about that, I would have not looked at the TV guide and missed it.
Yeah,
there wasn't a DVR until like in middle school.
Yeah, we had VHS though. We got all these old Iowa State games on VHS floating around our house.
Yep. Thank God for those. Like, just think about the generation. How many good games they could watch and like play in their Nerf hoop game. Like I had like 2 or 3. I had the Tinsley highlight tape with Pfizer in that season and that Kansas game.
I wish we used to have our DirecTV DVR that we had to get rid of that had the Oklahoma game on it where we came storming back.
No, the Michigan game.
Michigan game was on it too.
Johnny, that was the one that I really want.
Yeah.
But there's some guy who can't remember his YouTube handle, but he puts out old Iowa State games on. I think he ran out of them, which I was kind of bummed because I thought he would have the Michigan game, but he hasn't put that on there yet. But which I think that should be on ESPN Plus. Like they should have every backlog of everything that a team has ever played on ESPN. But obviously, there's probably a lot that goes into that. But it's
everybody travel safe over Christmas. Got a game on Sunday for the Cyclones. Then we head into the Big 12. Open up with Colorado, right?
Yep. That'll be weird to.
And got the Pop Tart Bowl coming up a week from Saturday, and still great time to be a Cyclone.
Yep. It just sucks that David got hurt. Purdy's season's kind of over because they're not going to make the playoffs. I saw he gifted all his
a lot of Toyotas. Yeah.
And then someone commented like, "Isn't that like half his salary?" I did the math.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, he's got an endorsement from Toyota, so I'm sure they helped him. So
right. Yeah. I don't think Purdy's in debt at all.
No, he's going to be
from
fine.
Toyota.
I'm not worried about Brock.
No. Right. And if we can get him a huge contract, I just want that done because there's so many media people are pushing against it. And then I heard Kurt Warner talk about it. It's like we're so like the last 2 years of Sam Darnold, he didn't do anything.
Right.
Purdy, the only game he's ever lost in the playoffs where he wasn't hurt was in overtime in the Super Bowl. but it's just weird how the media can just push an agenda. And
Yeah,
it just
well,
sticks.
I made this comment on Twitter. I said, his big contract is back pay. He should have been getting paid this a long time ago.
Yeah, because just think about Kobe Bryant. He got paid like a crap, like $25, $35 million when he was on the back end of his career. Why can't Purdy do it in his prime?
Right.
When he was a great reason why they went to the Super Bowl last year, and they could have won. They could have won it.
Yeah,
they could have won it. But the Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs just have. I mean, they're the dynasty of our time. So
yeah, that's right.
we just need to get healthy and draft some players, and I think it's just that simple. Where if you told me before the season that McCaffrey's not going to play like at all, Kittle's going to be hurt, Brandon Ayuk, who just gave a huge contract, out for the year, Debo is being dinged up, Trent Williams, their best lineman, hurt. Like, you can't blame it. They just blame it on one person.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Then I heard someone saying that Shanahan should go to the Bears.
Yeah.
With Caleb Williams.
There's a chance they were going to trade him.
The coach?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which that would be the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, it's a great time to be Cyclone. Hopefully, we can beat Miami. I'm not sure if we've ever played Miami before.
I don't think we have.
Which that'd be weird, playing two teams back to back where we never played them before in their history.
Yeah.
And yeah, if we can get that victory somehow and just get some momentum going to the offseason, even though it really doesn't really matter that much because Memphis game feels like a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, everybody, Merry Christmas. Drive safe. Your travels to wherever you're going, and try to keep buying all of the stuff that's going to keep funding these players, I guess.
Yep, and keep showing up. Get to Hilton every time you can because these teams don't go around every.
That's right.
They only come around every once in a while. Lipsy, Chris Jones, all these players I haven't lost in Hilton. It's a guaranteed fun time every time. They dive on the floor. It's the perfect Hilton team.
Yep, it is.
We dive on the floor.
Play hard all the time.
Huge, like Chris Jones, big threes. Milan, big threes. Big Dog Jackson, Deshaun Jackson with the barking and stuff like that. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it is.
Yep, have a good Christmas and go Cyclones.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Go Cyclones.